It's Showdown in the Sun Belt 2. The Southern Miss Golden Eagles hosting the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns. It's Locked On Sun Belt.
You are Locked On Sun Belt, your daily podcast on the Sun Belt Conference, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
All right, welcome back to another edition of Locked On Sunbelt, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel Sportsbook, official sportsbook of Locked On. Make every moment more. Visit FanDuel.com/Locked On to get started today. All right, big matchup in the Sunbelt tonight. It is the Southern Miss Golden Eagles hosting the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns for all intents and purposes for supremacy in the Sunbelt. Let's bring in from the Sun Herald. See if we can do this. It is Scott Watkins, who covers the Southern Miss Golden Eagles. Scott, how are you? Thanks for hopping on Locked On Sunbelt.
I'm doing great. Thanks for having me, Dave. Always happy to be with you.
I appreciate it. All right, I said it yesterday, a little pet peeve of mine. You could call me homerism or whatever it is, but I don't understand why Southern Miss is above the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns when the Ragin Cajun disposed of the Golden Eagles last time out in what was really not a close basketball game.
It really wasn't. It was two of three games where Southern Miss was just kind of trying to figure some things out there around the turn of the new year, where shots just weren't falling for a couple weeks there. The ball just wouldn't go through the cylinder, and Louisiana was one of those games where it just kind of fell apart down the stretch. So this is two. Honestly, the Cajuns don't look much different, but Southern Miss has figured it out in the last few weeks, and they've been on a roll. So it's a different time right now.
Well, let's go back and recap this, because the big three stories of, and maybe one story is the same for both teams, but there's three huge stories in the Sun Belt this year outside of the Ragin Cajuns, who are predicted to be this good, and they are. But Marshall and Southern Miss's turnaround, and ULM having more wins already this year than they did all of the last few years, not winning more than 5 in any of the previous seasons with in the Sun Belt. What turned the program around for Southern Miss?
Oh man, that's a loaded question right there. There's a lot of things there's a lot of things that just kind of went right for Southern Miss over the offseason. They got new assistant coach Juan Cardona. He kind of changed the energy of the entire ball club. He's a defensive guy who also very well connected, and that helped land guys like Felipe Hasse, who started at South Carolina, played at Mercer, and is now here, combined with Neftali Alvarez, the new point guard on the team. He's healthy. He did not play in that Louisiana game.
That's right.
He is a game changer. And they also got Austin Crowley from Ole Miss. And so all these things just kind of come together. And the most important thing is they all gelled. They all meshed. The transfer portal changes college basketball rosters all over the country every single year. But this team, they just kind of clicked really, really, really quick. And I think that's played maybe half of it. The half of it, you bring the team in, and the other half is you got to get them to play together. And those two things have just kind of come together. And that's what's been the catalyst for this turnaround.
So let's talk about Austin Crowley, certainly in the discussion for Sunbelt Player of the Year. How much was expected of him? And it would appear, has he exceeded all expectations? Because he's been really good.
Well, it's kind of a weird thing to look at, because there just weren't very many expectations at all about any individual or this team heading into the season. Right. So it's just kind of, I think fans just wanted to see Crowley do well. I think they wanted to see Hasse do well, and they have. I mean, Crowley's one of the top scorers in the league. So is Hasse. He's very efficient with the ball, and he's also sneakily good defender as well. He has a nose to the basketball regardless of which side of the court he is on.
And so, if we go back to the last ball game, if you take it like the Cajuns against Marshall, it was going to be the inside game of the Cajuns versus the outside game of the Thundering Herd. And in this case, the inside game dominated, although Tavian Kinsey ended up leading all scorers with 28 points, but they just could not stop Jordan Brown. On the other side of things, if you look at this first matchup with Southern Miss, it was the guards versus the big guys. The guards of the Cajuns versus Hassey of Southern Miss, and kind of the two big guys, Crowley and Jordan Brown, did not have spectacular ball games in that first matchup.
Yeah, this is it's a weird one because Louisiana is so talented among the guards, and I think that's why this game is so much different from last. Was not only is it in Hattiesburg, but you now have to deal with Alvarez, who is a very, very, very good on-ball defender, and that just kind of changes the outlook of this game, I think, a little bit. So this is a very good matchup, guard on guard, big on big. Louisiana, what I'm interested in seeing is, Louisiana is very much a live by the three, die by the three, but they live by the three on offense and they die by it on defense. And that showed up in that last game that we're talking about. Southern Miss made 13 threes in that game, but still lost by 14. So something to watch out for with Alvarez now in the mix and how that will change the scoring and the game flow of both teams in this one.
Well, a guard that's very much like what South Alabama has in Isaiah Moore, Themis Folks, a very good defender and very efficient with the basketball, does not shoot threes. It's very odd when you have a point guard who does not shoot it from the outside. All of his shots are from inside the lane or going to the bucket, and yet he is a nuisance on defense as well.
Yes, I agree with you there. Nothing much to add. Just part of the challenge. I mean, I'm looking forward to this one. This is two teams with much. When I look at the Sun Belt, I see guards. I see a lot of guards this year that are really talented, and that's why I'm so excited about this one because the Cajuns have it, and now with Mo Arnold added with Alvarez, the back and forth tomorrow is going to, or tonight, whenever you release this, it's going to be incredible.
Hold on. All right, so let's take a time out. Let's talk about, we did a podcast earlier in the year. If instead of if you build it, they will come. If they win, they will. If you win, they will come. As we've seen, the big difference there between Marshall's attendance and Southern Miss's attendance is how the fan bases, especially the students, have, I guess, globbed onto the team because they've been so good, and the team has, they've reciprocated with the love. But first, let me see if we can do this. I need to talk to you a little bit about FanDuel. This year's the only app you need at your Super Bowl party is FanDuel, America's #1 sports book. We're really excited about our new sports betting partner for Locked On because they're the #1 sports book in America, FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, that's even better. They have so many great features that make betting on sports fun and easy. Download FanDuel now so you can bet Super Bowl 57 with a no-sweat first bet. You'll get up to $3,000 back in bonus bets if your first bet doesn't win. FanDuel lets you bet on everything from the money line to point spreads to who will score a touchdown. The FanDuel Sportsbook app is safe, secure, and super easy to use. Best of all, you can get paid your winnings instantly. So join FanDuel today at FanDuel.com/lockedon to claim your no-sweat first bet on Super Bowl 57. That's FanDuel.com/lockedon. Make every moment more with FanDuel, official sportsbook partner of the NFL. All right, more with our buddy. Well, I always press that one wrong button. More with our buddy Scott Watkins from the Sun Herald. There we go. We got to take my name down. Here we go. Take that down and put this up. There we go. All right, we're getting the hang of it. All right, so how many fans are expected to be there? Again, Cajuns had over 5,300 when they hosted Marshall, and that's the largest attended game that they've had since 18. Still, it was only half of the Cajun Dome, and yet it's a huge home court advantage. What is expected in Hattiesburg tonight?
It is an 8,000-seat arena. It hasn't been sold out in a very, very long time. The highest crowd that I think that this team has seen this year is very close to 5,000, but I don't think it's cracked 5,000. They are expecting at least 6, if I had to guess.
No kidding.
At least 6,000. There are people who are kind of they're searching the the seating charts and the tickets, and they're trying to find out how close we are to a sellout in Hattiesburg tonight. I don't know if that'll happen, but it'll be close. And I think it'll be the biggest crowd that Southern Miss has had this year, and probably had in a very, very long time. But yes, expect a fantastic atmosphere at this game.
All right. So are any concern that they may be too jacked up, maybe, too excited? Last week we saw Marshall, was like a little, they were more than a step behind the Cajuns. I don't know if the Cajuns were jacked up, but Marshall, you could clearly see, was a step slower. So maybe the Cajuns were jacked up, but it was a controlled excitement. Do you think the coach has any issues with maybe they're going to be too excited to start the ball game? I'm sure they'll settle in, but it may be an interesting start to the ball game when they're playing in front of the biggest crowd they have all season.
Yeah, it's why I look at last week, and I think last week was just so big for Southern Miss. Obviously, completely different situations, but they go and play programs that in Troy and Georgia State on the road that could be anybody at any given time.
Right.
And
yes.
they win both of those games, knowing what's coming next, knowing that they're going home against a very good Louisiana team, a game that'll be what these players have been talking about all season long and post-game talking about. We want to see a sellout. We want to see the crowd here. They're about to get what they want. And we're about to see how they respond. And in predicting that, I look at last week, and I look at the team turning the ball over 8 times in 8 minutes against Troy to open the game, and then settling in and shutting the Trojans down and winning that game. Doing the same thing, settling in against Georgia State. If they can do that on the road in those environments, which, I mean, they weren't what they're going to see at home tonight.
Right.
But I think that's a plus. I think that's a sign of a team that is mentally strong and mentally capable of shutting out the outside, but playing with the energy that they're given.
Now, I guess that Georgia State game was like a trap ball game, because even I said, Georgia State's not a very good basketball team, but they play much better at home than they do on the road. They've scored 100 at home, and they've given up 100 on the road. And Southern Miss had to overcome a halftime deficit, although I think they took control early in the second half. You're right. That was a big ball game. That was a very losable ball game on the road, and Southern Miss was able to overcome the Panthers.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You nailed it.
We're talking with Scott Watkins from the Sun Herald. Give us a little history of what you know about Southern Miss basketball, because we all kind of know about Southern Miss football from, the Brett Favre days. And I actually, how about this? I ran into Ito Smith. He's actually from Mobile, same high school as Troy's Carlton Marshall and Jalen Tolbert, and the Rangers' Bubba Thompson, all the same high school. I think Ito was a little bit before those guys, but they've had a good football program now and then, and Will Hall obviously has them pointing in the right direction. What has the basketball program been like over the last few decades for Southern Miss?
Well, there are plenty of other people that would be better suited to tell you about that. But I got
the great Scott Watkins.
Yeah, what I do know is this program has been to the tournament just one time, I think, in this century. Okay, and they've had a lot of very good teams, and they've competed in very good mid-majors. Back when Conference USA had Memphis and Houston. And those teams, and they succeeded during those years. I mean, and you go back to the early 2010s, they won 20, 22, 25, 27, 29 games, all in a row. And in that stretch, they only made the tournament one time in that stretch, though. So it's a program that has seen success, but has found itself at the doorstep too often without walking through the threshold. And so I think that's kind of some motivation for this team this year, this group.
Well, the problem, and you're really talking a lot about the Ragin Cajuns as well in that case, because I think they've only been to the NCAA tournament once in the last decade. I was there for that with Alfred Payton and Sean Long, but they've had the best team in the Sun Belt a couple of times, and at least one time. And Jonathan Stove got hurt, their third scorer on the team, and a defensive lockdown guy. And they ended up losing to UTA. Same thing's going to happen this year, right? I mean, you have at least 3 legitimate teams that are NCAA worthy as of right now, right? The Cajuns, Southern Miss, and Marshall, maybe James Madison. And I mean, only one's going to go. This is not a 2-bid league, and that has to be so much pressure on the coaches, knowing that the whole entire season comes down to a weekend.
Yeah, it absolutely. In fact, I wrote a story today about what the odds are that the Sun Belt could even produce an at-large bid. It hasn't in 10 years. And it was Middle Tennessee and Western Kentucky. Neither of them are even in the league anymore.
Right.
But if there was ever a year that put pressure on the net rankings, it's this year, because there are four teams in the top 100 in net. And the way that the Sun Belt's designed their conference tournament is they give those top 4 seeds double buys, and that enhances the opportunity that they have to play against each other in that round or in the next round in the championship round. So I'm curious to see if anybody emerges, if maybe we get a situation where it's Southern Miss and Marshall, or it's Southern Miss and James Madison, or Louisiana and Marshall, or something like that in the championship game. And one of those teams finds themselves on the bubble when it's time for Selection Sunday.
Right.
And then after that, if that doesn't happen, there's a real chance the Sun Belt sends like 3 teams to the NIT, which would be something.
Right. Well, that's the thing about this is that, they can't – it's really hard when that is the case. And I totally lost my thought, and I'm going to have to edit this. I totally lost my train of thought. Whatever you were saying is exactly what I was going to reiterate, and now I don't know what it is. I should write this stuff.
I messed up earlier, same way.
That's okay. About the seedings, the NIT. I don't know. I'll just keep on going. Now we're 3, 2, 1. We're talking with Scott Watkins of the Sun Herald, beat writer for Southern Miss. We're talking about the showdown in the Sun Belt 2. Southern Miss hosting the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns tonight in Hattiesburg. Do you have any prediction on how this is going to go? Because, again, the Cajuns, both games at home, admittedly, both games at home, they've taken care of Southern Miss and they've taken care of Marshall each game rather handily, and both of them are on big-time winning streaks. Cajuns have won 10 straight, and Southern Miss has won 7 in a row.
Yeah, there's no predicting college basketball, in my opinion. Anything can happen. I think the edge might be the fact that Louisiana has really, really struggled. As good of a shooting team as they are, they have been awful at the free throw line all year long. And if they're playing in front of a loud, boisterous crowd on the road, that could be the difference. And Kim Palm sees that. They have Southern Miss winning by 3 points in this game. So that free throws could be the difference maker. If Louisiana doesn't make them, that will give Southern Miss an edge.
Yeah, that's a good point, because I think Jordan Brown was 6 of 13 from the free throw line in his 26-20 game against Marshall. Very easily could have been a 30-20 ball game if he made a few more free throws. That's a good point.
Yeah.
Very good point. All right, I was going to ask you what else were you writing about, but you already told us with an at-large berth for the Sun Belt. I know what I was going to talk to you about. It was about the Sun Belt Conference tournament and how, it just seems to change every year. Before, when the Cajuns won it in 14, the top seeds only had to win 2 ball games. Now, because the Sun Belt expanded, you have to win 3 ball games even if you're a top seed. And everybody's in the tournament. There's been years that not everybody's made the tournament. So this format, I'm not sure it's been the same format 2 years in a row since I've been covering the Sun Belt, and that's like a decade. From 14 to 20.
Yes, the Sun Belt has changed its tournament so many times. I personally, I can't even remember what they all even looked like, because they were so fleeting, and we dealt with them for like 1 year at a time. But there's promise with this one. I know that it's a lot of basketball for the teams that, end up maybe in the middle or towards the bottom of the league. And it's tough to crawl out of that bottom, those last 4 seeds. But I think that's the purpose of the regular season. I think that's the incentive that you're aiming for. You're not just in college basketball, when you're a mid-major, it seems like there's only one purpose, and that's just to play to get ready for the tournament. But now with the Sun Belt and the way that it's set up, its bracket, there's reason to fight for every single win you can get within conference play, because that's going to determine how difficult the tournament's going to be for you as far as how it's set up in your context, whichever team you are. So that's we'll see how it goes. I know the idea has always been to get the top teams as close to the championship as possible.
Yes, that was it. Yes. So that's why they changed the format when they did, because a lot of times the top teams was getting upset, and so the best team wasn't going from the regular season.
The
The
Sun
thing
Belt
is,
has dealt with a lot of that.
yes, well, this may be the longest conference tournament going because it starts on a Tuesday and finishes on a Monday.
Yes, it does. It is a full
So
week.
there are actually 2 off days in between. Wednesday and Friday, there are no ball games. So it's not like, even if you are a bottom 4 seed and somehow you get through, you're not playing 5 games in 5 days.
Mm-mm. You're still playing a lot of basketball in a week.
You're playing 5 days in about a week. Yeah. So that'll be interesting. We hope to see you at the Sunbelt Conference Tournament. Pensacola, Florida there, Scotty Watkins. I presume you will be there.
Yes, I will. My parents actually live nearby, so I have a place to stay.
And we're crashing. We're crashing at the Watkins household. All right, I like that idea. All right, I will bring the adult beverages. I have plenty to share.
Oh, sounds good to me.
He's Scott Watkins from the Sun Herald, jumping on a Lockdown Sunbelt. It is the Showdown in the Sunbelt 2. It is the Southern Miss Golden Eagles hosting the Louisiana Ragin Cajuns tonight. We will have a full recap for you on Friday. Thanks, Scott. Really appreciate you hopping on Lockdown Sunbelt.
Absolutely, Dave. Thank you.
I'll fix it. Thanks, brother. I knew I had a good point to make.
Yeah, I did the same thing earlier. I think you kind of bounced it back to me, and I was like, well, I've got nothing else to add right here.
Well, I think I recapped exactly what you said.
That must have been it. Also, my computer just completely froze on me, so I didn't have any more information in front of me.
Oh, well, no, you did really well. For a guy who said he didn't know the history, you reeled off all their great wins, so that was cool. All their winning seasons. So I appreciate it, man. This will post tomorrow.
All right, cool. Thanks,
Thank
Dave.
you, sir. Bye-bye.